I would like to present the practical case for the legalization, or at the very least the decriminalization, of drugs, and an immediate end to the war on drugs. Let's face it, the war on drugs has nothing to do with public safety, nor something that is necessary and proper. It is the legislating of morality. It did not work with alcohol during the Prohibition, and it will not work now. The average American's desire to escape from reality and the droll existence that has become the American way of life is overpowering. Drug users can justify it by whatever terms they like, saying, "I just like to have a good time," or whatever cliché they plan on throwing out. But the hard reality is that they are escaping reality for a little while, and if that's what they want to do, then so be it. The war on drugs has been going on for literally decades now, and it has done nothing to stop or even slow the tide of drugs sailing past U.S. Customs on a daily basis. Not to put too fine a point on it, but it is a complete and utter failure. In fact, higher percentages of teens coming out of high school are now using drugs than at any other point in our nation's history. This, despite rigorous enforcement, constant bombardment by PSAs, early education programs warning children of the danger of drugs, and draconian sentences handed out by our judicial system. Why? Could the increased usage actually be because of its illegal status? Because now it is seen as a form of rebellion against the government the people of this country have come to despise. Is it possible that, as usual, the government solution to the problem actually worsens the problem itself? Take those lengthy sentences we mentioned before. For example, if you are caught distributing drugs, you are very likely to fall under federal jurisdiction and be held to a minimum mandatory sentence of 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, of which you will spend a minimum of 85% of this sentence in prison. This is assuming the state jurisdiction drops its charges or elects to run the sentence concurrent. It is very possible that you will serve time in federal prison for the charge and then be released into the custody of the state to serve an additional time in a state prison for the same charge, or vice versa. I can see your hand raising and your foot stomping. No, that's double jeopardy. You can't be sent to prison twice for the same crime. It's unconstitutional, you say. Well, actually the government has decided that two jurisdictions can separately try you and imprison you for the same offense. But that is a topic for another day. You can take my word on it, or you can consult the almighty Google. So what have these sentences and violations of some of the basic principles of our country gotten us? They have made it more risky for the drug dealer. That raises the price on the street, which is actually a method the DEA uses to determine their effectiveness. However, increased prices translates into increased profits. Increased profits mean that more people will be willing to take the risk and sell the drugs. It is a simple economics and human nature. So what is the reverse? No enforcement at all. With no enforcement, something such as marijuana would be by the user at home. It is a very hardy plant that apparently grows anywhere from Colombia to Canada. So now there is no profit for the dealer. But after all, that's just pot. Let's take something a little more severe. Cocaine, for example, is an expensive habit. People pay anywhere from $65 to $135 per gram. That means that a kilo of cocaine would make the dealer $135,000 if sold by the gram. Kilograms cost roughly $16,000 to $20,000 from a connection that is bringing it across the Mexican border. That makes a net profit of over $100,000 for the street-level dealer. He gets more than the cartel per kilo. He is the one taking the risk after all, so let's remove the risk. The cocaine clears customs as any other medicine, and perhaps the way imported alcohol does. Converting raw coca into cocaine is a process as simple, if not simpler, than making aspirin, a bottle of which costs about $6 for 50 pills each, consisting of 500 milligrams or a combined weight of 25 grams. So the cost of 25 grams of cocaine just fell to $6. Well, let's say that the former cartel, which are now legitimate businesses, are more greedy than pharmaceutical companies, as unlikely as that is, and they want to make double the profit. That is still less than 50 cents per gram. That's hardly worth fighting a turf war over. If the profit is eliminated, the propensity for violence is eliminated. Hands are going up again. But what about all those crazed drug addicts who are breaking into homes to get their fix? Once again, look at it logically. You don't have people performing home invasions to get their beer money, do you? Why? Is it any less addictive? Studies would argue that. But the truth is, it doesn't happen because alcohol is cheap. Much like the only violence that really ever occurs in the prescription pill trade is when the dealers are trying to obtain them from the pharmacy. It is because they are cheap. Those addicted to drugs can afford them. And there are numerous case studies in Europe that show industrialized nations that have adopted a policy of rehabilitation instead of incarceration suffer less violence and less use. But what about all those drug addicts walking the streets or driving cars? Yep, it will happen. But you think it will be more frequently or less frequently once the user feels safe in the fact that the DEA will not kick down his door and place him in prison for 5 years for the amount of drugs he or she will use over the course of the weekend? Talk to most users of the hard drugs, and you will find that most of them would like to stay home during their high to avoid the consequences or paranoia, which are obvious side effects. So why are the nation's children doing drugs? Well, the answer is staring them in the face every time you turn on the TV or listen to the radio. Our nation glorifies crime. Every kind of crime. Drug dealing, pimping, robbery, even rape and murder are glorified on a daily basis. Why? What makes our children and our country in general crave the blood that creates the ratings the TV stations base their programming decisions on? Simple. Violence is as American as apple pie. We are angry. Our bloodlust is a substitute for the rage we have boiling inside of us. We are angry with our place in a country that has lost touch with its people, a people that are now demanding its government once again be of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, we have a plan, and I'm part of that plan.